Tonya. Hi, hello,
Good
Tonya.
morning. How
Good
are you
morning.
doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really, really well, thank you. So
Good.
it's going fabulous. I'm enjoying watching it all. It's
Oh,
brilliant.
I'm so pleased, and I hope that the fair has been good for you so far, and that you've seen lots of orders, and it's
So
been
exciting. So exciting.
good. Oh, I'm so pleased. Tonya, we've got to start. Right, hang on. I'm going to pull your products towards
Yeah.
me. For those who don't know, I'm going to hang on. Let me hold up. This is Stories. Sorry, it's backwards, but this is Stories. So for those who don't know, this is Stories Parfum. Who are you and what do you do?
Yes. Okay, so my name is Tonya and I am the founder and the creative director of Stories Parfums. So we are based in Northern Ireland. We're the very first fragrance house actually to be born here in Northern Ireland, which is absolutely fabulous. Stories was actually born out of a hobby. I have 4 kids and I decided when the younger 2 were growing up a little, I wanted to pursue a hobby. And it was actually that transformative trip that in Grasse in the south of France that actually led me with a passion to launch Stories Parfums. So let me tell you a little quickly the background on that. I had had trauma in my life when I was 12, and my life had spiraled out of control for many, many years, lived a very destructive life. And in my later 20s, I went on to actually to do the counselling, remove the trauma, very, very successfully. I actually went on to train in counselling because it was so good and so powerful in my life. But I had no childhood memories even after when I did the trauma, or sorry, when I did the counselling. And when I went to Grasse in the south of France, which we all know is the hub of the fragrance world, I worked in a perfumery there with a perfumer for a while to learn. That's what gave me back my memories, my childhood memories. And even though all the years I'd gone, I had, prior to the trauma had darkened and overshadowed my childhood. So really fragrance gave me back my childhood memories, and it shouldn't have been such a surprise really, because our olfactory system, our sense of smell is the most powerful one, connected to our memory bank. So really it shouldn't have been such a surprise, but it really was. And I left Grasse in the south of France. I came back to the UK, came back to Northern Ireland with this passion to launch a luxury fragrance brand. And in doing that, I wanted to connect people to their own story, because in my story, I had been silenced as a woman and I had found my voice again. So I have this absolute passion so that people would try my fragrances, wear the fragrances, and not concentrate too much on the ingredients, but concentrate on how does that make me feel and what is my story? Because we all have a story and we've all a story to tell. So that is the whole ethos, the passion behind the brand, that actually gave me that oomph to go and start Stories Parfums.
I mean, it's amazing. There's so many questions to ask you, Tonya, off the back of that. But what is it that you smelt? You know, is it that certain fragrances, it's that this X happened, you smell X when you were younger and then you smell it again later in life, and then it brings back things? Or is it kind of just generally that different scents can trigger different memories?
Well, it can, but for me, I actually had gone with the idea that I was going to create one bespoke fragrance for myself and I was going to leave. I didn't know what I was going to put in it. So when you learn in perfumery, you blind smell. So you have lots of bottles sitting in front of you at the perfumer's organ, but you don't have any names on them. So you can't have these preconceptions about them. You can't associate what you're smelling with the past. So for me, it was when I had completed the first perfume, and it was in its completion that it actually took me right back to a memory. So for me, I look at it as a bit of an art. I call it the art of perfumery, because I freely just blend perfumes together, and then stories tend to emerge for me. Memory seems to come. But what you say is completely right. And there's certain notes, certain olfactory notes that actually just take you right back to a memory. How many of us walk into a room and we smell something, we haven't smelled it for years, and we're right back at a holiday, or we actually, we know what perfume we wore when we got married, or that date, or whatever it was. It's kind of like a linear line. It always is a revolving storytelling, I believe, with fragrance.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I know you mentioned something when we chatted the other day about vanilla and how you didn't,
Yeah.
you thought you didn't like it, and then it turned out that you did. I mean, is it just that we're not smelling things really in their purest form, kind of in day-to-day life?
Yeah, well, do you know what it is? It's the preconceptions. And when I launched Stories, I really had this passion to remove these preconceptions. So the story that we were chatting about was I had gone with the idea that I didn't like vanilla. I always thought that vanilla was that very, do you know, you used to smell in candles when you walked in somewhere. It was very synthetic and very, very strong. So I had gone with this whole idea, I'm not going to put vanilla in, but when I was blind testing at the Perfumer's Organ, I actually had I worked with a Russian perfumer, and she was the one who taught me. And she knew that I didn't like vanilla, and we were smelling this oil, and she said, "Do you like?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's lovely." And I started to describe my feeling around it, because that's what you need to do in perfumery. You have to really search at how it makes you feel. And she goes, "Well, that's vanilla." And I nearly dropped, because I had thought that I didn't like vanilla, but actually that is one of the reasons why we number our bottles, because when we walk into a store or we shop online, how many times do we actually pass something that we don't like the name, or we don't like what we think is in it? So I want to be able to give people that just a little bit of time to explore fragrance differently than that. And we all go into a shop and we go, "Oh, we don't like floral, and we don't like tobacco, and we don't like this," and we walk by. So by numbering the bottles, we want to give people that chance to just remove the name, remove ingredients at the forefront. Of course, it's important, the ingredients, but also give people a chance just to stop and think, how does that fragrance make them feel?
Yeah, that's so true. I've never even thought about how much kind of bias comes from fragrance names, doesn't it? And there are ones that I would just completely avoid based on the name. So it's so clever.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the actual products then.
Yeah.
So what came? You created your first fragrance, and then how many are there in the range now?
So we only have 2. We're actually, this month is our 3rd birthday month. We are only turning 3, which is very young. We have launched into fantastic retail in our first year. We are in Harvey Nichols, we're in Fortnum & Mason, we're in Fenwick. So to have that behind us is absolutely incredible when we only have 2 fragrances. But we have Stories number 1 and Stories number 2. And they are my story. Inside the box, I'm not sure whether you have the box in front of you, but I'll show you it. So inside the box, there is a little story. That story is actually my story, and the story that it tells of what the fragrance means to me. Now, not everybody is going to connect with my story, and that's not the reason I put it in there. The reason I put it there is that I hope people will stop and go, "Oh my gosh, if that's what fragrance is to her, what can it be to me?" And it gets them to think a little bit more of what it means to them when they're smelling it. So I'll not read it for time's sake, but it talks about me sitting at the Perfumer's Organ and actually coming to realizing the pain that was in my past, and actually the fragrance is giving me back my past. Obviously, it's an uplifting story of sorrow transformed into beauty, and the dark yields into the light. That's just my story. But in there, if you want to talk about the ingredients, we have the citrus notes of bergamot, grapefruit, and orange blossom. It gives way to the deep warmth of cedarwood, jasmine, heliotrope, and fig tea accord. We also have at the back notes amber, sandalwood, and vetiver. Now, we have 20 different olfactory notes in our fragrances. They're really complex, but they're created in such a way that when you spray them, they're going to last on your skin, and they're going to last for hours. The top notes will come out to begin with over the first half hour to an hour. Then it will give way to the heart notes, and you'll get that will stay with you again for a little while longer. But those back notes are the important ones, because those are the ones that stay with you throughout the day and the evening.
So almost as well, that initial, the fragrance that you get when you spray it almost isn't how it's going to smell on you for the rest of the day at all.
No. And I love when we do a lot of, I love teaching people about fragrance and just bringing them into line their own story with what they're smelling. And I always say to them, if you meet somebody and they spread the perfume in the morning and you meet them in the afternoon, it's the back notes you are smelling. So I really recommend people, when you're trying for a new fragrance, get the samples or spray it and leave it and go away for lunch and then go back. Because it really does, it takes a while for you to connect with them.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Okay, so I've got one here. I've got number 2 here. So that's where did number 2 come from?
So number two was actually well, my trauma, as I said, was at 12. So this fragrance took me right back to my grandfather's garden when I was under 12. And he adored his garden. He had a rose garden. He had patchouli plants all along the patio. He had a river at the bottom of the garden, and we used to play in the river, and he had like a rose garden. Everything in there resembles number 2. But the great thing about fragrance, even though that was my initial memory that brought this together, we can put this on in the evening and it doesn't remind me of my grandfather. It makes you feel like, it makes you feel powerful and sexy. So fragrance always is to do with your mood as well. So it changes in how you feel. It changes in when you lift something and spray it, you know. So,
and it's not it's not at all, it's lovely and light and floral, but it doesn't feel like a kind of heady garden. I mean, I have to say, I find it hard to smell this without just thinking of Georgie, because this is the perfume that Georgie wears every day, so it's got a different association for me. But there you go, there's no higher praise than the fact that this is her favourite perfume.
Absolutely, we adore her.
And I just got to tell you, I love the branding so much. The bottles are so elegant and so kind of substantial and smart, and it's just beautiful.
Let me tell you what's in number 2, just very quickly. So number 2 opens with Bulgarian rose. Now it's very, very light. It's got ginger, cardamom, and green tea. It's got the honey tobacco, because my grandfather used to smoke a pipe. And it's a very woody fragrance. It's got a popanax, tonka bean, patchouli, amber, and musk. So that would be, the notes in that is a very long lasting. It will last. We have people coming back and say, gosh, I can still smell that on my skin. But talking about the caps and the boxes, we just replenished lately because we have really sustainability at our core. It's really important to me that the earth will actually not just survive, but thrive. So we completely changed our boxes, our caps, and we got a highly commended award in the Marie Claire UK Sustainability Award. So it's such an honor that we were able to do so. The caps are very heavy Zamak.
Yeah, I mean, they are. I was really surprised at quite how heavy they are. It's amazing. That's what I meant about being so substantial. Gorgeous. And
they're all refillable. So you can actually keep your 100ml at home, and you can refill into your 15ml little pan bag size, and also your 30ml. So you've got a constant ever-ending story.
And tell me, what are the price points on the various sizes?
Yeah, so 100ml is 150, the 30ml is 75, and the 15 is 40. And also we just do the hand and body range.
I was gonna say, and you've got some hand and body wash. I mean, sorry, but what an unbelievably elegant. I might steal these for my downstairs loo. This is the most stylish way to do, downstairs bathroom or just general bathroom hand lotions, isn't it? It's gorgeous.
So it was so important to me when I created the hand and body range that it actually was transformative to your body, and it actually didn't just be a base moisturizer, but it would do something for you. Our products are all paraben free, SLS free. It's a cruelty free brand. So it's a fantastic entry point into the fragrances. If you haven't tried the fragrances, the hand and body still have the notes in it, and they smell beautiful. So you still will get that lovely fragrance smell.
Gorgeous. Tonya, I mean, to summarize, it's basically a gorgeous independent brand if you're looking for something unique, a bit different that not everybody has, and it's kind to the environment, and it's paraben free. And there's basically nothing not to like, is there?
No, I agree.
It's heaven. It's heaven. And they smell amazing. I mean, do smell them for yourselves. We should talk about the discount. We should talk about, it's the autumn fair.
Yes.
So let me get this right. You are
absolutely.
SL Autumn 20. That is the code, everyone. All in caps. SL Autumn, then the numbers 20. And that's for 20% off all this weekend. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Tonya, I could talk about this all day. I'm probably just going to go
Same.
home and just smell everything for a little longer. But thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Charlotte.
Enjoy the rest of the fair.
And you too. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Tonya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. All right, everybody. So Tonya's going to drop off. We've got one more lovely brand. Let's move some of this jewellery and fragrance out the way. I mean, honestly, I cannot tell you enough how gorgeous the smells are on those stories, because they are heaven. All right, so next up we're going to be chatting Aurelia skincare. So I'm just waiting for